Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Roy English Talk. I'm Natasha, your host for today. If you're new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button. We upload powerful lessons every single day to help you grow, not just in your English skills, but in your mindset too. Today's topic is simple, but it's life-changing. It's called Nothing Changes If Nothing Changes. Let me say that again. Nothing changes if nothing changes. Sounds obvious, right? But once we break it down today, you'll realize how powerful and personal this phrase really is. Let's get started. Most people aren't stuck because they don't have the resources. They're stuck because they haven't made the decision to change. Let that sink in. It's not your job, not your parents, not your past. It's the fact that every day you wake up and choose what's familiar, even if it's slowly destroying you. You say you want a better life. You say you want to change. But how many times have you said that and then done nothing? Here's the brutal truth. Nothing changes if nothing changes. You keep waiting for motivation, for the right moment, for some kind of lightning bolt that will make it easier. But it never comes. It's not coming. Because change isn't something you feel, it's something you do. Let's be honest. Most of us are living the same year over and over again and calling it growth. We make resolutions in January and excuses by March. We talk a big game, but when it's time to show up, we ghost our goals like a bad Tinder date. Why? Because deep down we fear change. We fear what we don't control. We fear failure, but even more, we fear success. Because success comes with responsibility. It means we can't hide anymore. Think about how many times you've said next week after this project when I'm less busy. Weeks become months. Projects end. Time frees up. But you're still in the same place. You're tired, not because you're doing too much, but because you're doing too little of what actually matters. You're stuck in a cycle, the illusion of effort. Checking boxes that don't move you forward. Keeping busy, but never making progress. You confuse activity with achievement and productivity with purpose. What if the only thing standing between the life you have and the life you want is you? What if it's not the world that's against you, but your unwillingness to get uncomfortable? You don't lack talent. You lack commitment. You don't lack time. You lack discipline. You don't lack support. You lack the willingness to back yourself when no one else will. Every single person you admire, every entrepreneur, every artist, every athlete, had to face the same fork in the road. Stay comfortable or change. That's it. That's the decision. And the ones who made it, they're not special. They're not lucky. They're just done lying to themselves. They stopped saying someday and started saying today. They got tired of their own excuses, tired of pretending that small talk and scrolling was enough to build a meaningful life. They realized the habits that kept them safe were the same ones keeping them small. And the moment they chose to act, not talk, not plan, but act, everything began to shift. If you want something you've never had, you have to do something you've never done. So here's your wake-up call. Nothing changes if nothing changes. You don't need more time. You need more courage. You don't need a better plan. You need a better mindset. And most of all, you need to stop waiting for change and start becoming the reason it happens. Because the day you decide to stop negotiating with your comfort zone, that's the day your real life begins. Section 2, the pattern we don't see. You ever feel like you're doing everything right, but still going nowhere? Like you're running on a treadmill, moving fast, but not moving forward? That's not bad luck. That's a pattern. And most of us don't even see it. See, the real trap isn't failure, it's almost success. It's doing just enough to feel like you're improving, but not enough to actually transform. You read the books. You watch the videos. You set the goals. But the truth is, none of it matters if your actions don't match your ambition. We fall into patterns. We wake up, scroll for dopamine. Work a job we tolerate. Tell ourselves we'll start tomorrow. Hang around the same people who reinforce our excuses. And the scariest part? It feels normal. Comfort is addictive. And most comfort zones don't look like laziness. They look like responsibility. They look like, I can't chase my dream right now, I have bills. Or, I'm just too tired after work. It's not that those things aren't real, but they become the perfect cover for stagnation. You start doing what I call productive avoidance. You clean your room instead of applying for the job. You organize your desktop instead of finishing the proposal. You make to-do lists instead of starting the first task. And here's where it gets even trickier: the brain rewards patterns. Your mind is wired for familiarity. It doesn't want you to grow. It wants you to survive. So it tricks you. It says, you're being productive. You're working hard. But are you really? Or are you just busy being safe? Let me tell you a story. A guy I knew, let's call him Eric, wanted to start a business. He talked about it every day, had notebooks full of ideas. He even built a logo, made an Instagram, told his friends he was launching soon. But 2 years later, nothing. Not one product. Not one customer. He was always preparing. Always getting ready. But preparation without execution is just procrastination in disguise. Eric didn't fail because he didn't have what it takes. He failed because he was addicted to the feeling of almost doing something. That temporary hit of dopamine you get when you write a plan. When you clean your room instead of making a cold call. When you binge motivation videos instead of facing the hard stuff. That's the pattern. And it's everywhere. It shows up in relationships too. You keep dating the same type of person in a different body. You keep repeating the same arguments, the same apologies, the same endings. Why? Because you haven't seen the pattern yet. You're still blaming the outcome without questioning the input. It shows up in health. You do 20 crunches, eat a salad, and feel proud. Then reward yourself with pizza because at least you tried. But progress isn't measured by effort. It's measured by impact. The truth is, most of us are stuck in mental routines that keep us right where we are. We've normalized mediocrity. We've romanticized hustle without results. We've confused consistency with progress when the consistency is built around the wrong thing. So how do you break it? You become aware. You question your autopilot. You stop celebrating being busy and start celebrating being intentional. You ask, is this moving me forward or keeping me comfortable? Then you audit your life. You look at your environment. Who are you around? What are you consuming? What habits have become so automatic you don't even question them? Awareness is the first step to freedom. Once you see the pattern, you can disrupt it. You can interrupt the loop. But you've got to be willing to be brutally honest with yourself. You've got to be willing to admit that maybe, just maybe, you've been the one in your own way. Because change doesn't start with doing more. It starts with doing different. And doing different will always feel uncomfortable at first. That's how you know you're growing. You can't fix what you don't see. But now, you see it. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. And that's where transformation begins. So what makes someone finally change? What breaks the cycle? What pushes a person from stuck to unstoppable? Sometimes it's pain, rock bottom, the breakup, the betrayal, the burnout, the health scare. Sometimes it's quiet, a glance in the mirror, a comment from a stranger, or a moment of stillness where you realize, I don't like who I've become. But here's the truth. Change rarely happens when we're comfortable. Comfort kills urgency. It whispers you're fine. It convinces you that the pain you're in is better than the pain you might face. It says later, next week, when you're ready. Until one day, you wake up and you're 10 years older, still waiting. There's a moment, and if you've felt it, when the pain of staying the same becomes louder than the fear of changing. That's the moment everything shifts. That's the catalyst. Not because your circumstances changed, but because your standards did. For some people, it's a dramatic collapse. For others, it's a subtle crack in the foundation. Either way, something breaks. And in that break, a new person is born. Let me tell you about Maya. She was 34, worked a corporate job that looked good on paper, but left her numb inside. She stayed in a relationship she outgrew years ago because at least it wasn't terrible. Every day, she wore the mask, the smile, the routine, the polite conversations. Then one night, she visited her sister's house. Her 6-year-old nephew sat beside her and asked, "Auntie, why are you always sad?" She froze. She laughed it off in the moment, but inside, something shattered. It wasn't therapy. It wasn't a breakdown. It was a single question, a mirror held up by someone too young to lie. And in that moment, she realized, this cannot be my life anymore. She broke up with her boyfriend 2 weeks later. She quit her job 3 months after that. Was it scary? Terrifying? Was it worth it? Every minute. That's how change begins, not always in chaos, but in clarity. The truth is, people don't change when they're slightly dissatisfied. They change when they become unwilling to tolerate their own excuses, when the thought of wasting more time becomes unbearable. And here's what you need to know. The catalyst won't always feel like lightning. Sometimes it's the last tear you. Cry alone. Sometimes it's a voice in your head that says, "I'm done." Sometimes it's watching someone else live your dream while you keep telling yourself you'll start tomorrow. You don't need to hit rock bottom to rise. You just need to decide that enough is enough. Most people think they need a perfect plan. They don't. They need a moment of truth, a point where they say, no more pretending, no more planning without action, no more numbing out. You want change? Stop looking for motivation. Start looking for what you can't tolerate anymore. Because when something becomes truly unacceptable, your behavior changes. Fear will still be there, but so will your strength. And guess what? You don't need to be fearless. You just need to move while you're afraid. Because courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision that something matters more. The catalyst doesn't promise an easy road. It promises a real one. It doesn't give you guarantees. It gives you a reason to keep going. And that reason has to be stronger than your excuses. The most powerful turning points are quiet. They happen in kitchens, in showers, on late-night drives. They happen in whispers, not shouts. But they leave you different, forever. So what's your moment? What's the sentence, the event, the thought that you keep pushing down? The one that already told you it's time. Because here's the truth. This could be your catalyst. Right here. Right now. Not because this video is magic, but because you're listening, and something inside you knows this message isn't random. You were meant to hear this. One choice, one shift in mindset can reroute your life. You don't need the whole map. You just need to take the first exit off the highway that's taking you nowhere. Your turning point isn't something you wait for. It's something you decide. And if you've been waiting for a sign, this is it. Section 4. The price of doing nothing. Let's flip the question. What does it cost you not to change? Everyone talks about the risk of leaving your comfort zone, the fear of failure, the what-ifs. But nobody talks enough about the other side, the slow, brutal cost of doing nothing, of staying stuck, of watching your potential rot while you scroll through someone else's highlight reel. Because there's a price for every decision, and indecision is still a decision. You just don't feel the pain right away. It sneaks in, quiet, gradual. You don't notice the damage until it's already done. It's in the opportunities you never took, the people you never became, the mornings you woke up and felt nothing but numb, the moments you looked at your life and thought, is this really it? That's the price of doing nothing. No broken bones, no explosion, just quiet regret, eating you alive from the inside out. You lose time, the one currency you'll never get back. You lose peace, because deep down you know you're not living right. You lose confidence every time you break a promise to yourself. You lose trust, not from others, but from your own soul. And the longer you stay there, the heavier it gets. The weight of wasted potential doesn't hit you all at once. It builds. One skipped workout, one ignored dream, one maybe tomorrow at a time, until one day you wake up and you're 40, or 60, or 80. And the pain isn't from what you did, it's from everything you didn't. That's the real tragedy. Not failure, not mistakes, but the silence of a life that never screamed. You see, failure at least teaches you. At least it moves you. But doing nothing? It teaches you nothing. It keeps you stuck in the same loop, the same lies, the same fake comfort zone that's actually just a prison with throw pillows. Ask anyone older than you what they regret most. It won't be what they tried and failed at. It'll be what they never tried. The conversations they never had. The risks they were too scared to take. The version of themselves they never got to meet. Let that sink in. Every day you wait, you gamble with your future. Every excuse you make builds a wall between you and the life you were meant to live. And every time you say, I'll start tomorrow, you train your brain to believe tomorrow will always come. But what if it doesn't? Tomorrow is not guaranteed. The window doesn't stay open forever. And when it closes, it doesn't make a sound. So many people walk through life like it's a rehearsal, like they'll get another shot, like they can waste today because there will always be another Monday, another year, another chance. But this is it. This is the moment. This is your life. And every second that slips by unfocused, unfulfilled, unlived is a second you'll never get back. And when you really understand that, really feel it, something shifts. Your excuses start to feel hollow. Your distractions start to taste bitter. Your comfort zone starts to feel like a trap. Because you're not just avoiding risk, you're avoiding your real life. And the cost of that? It's everything. You lose connection. You lose energy. You lose the fire. You go from, I was meant for more, to I guess this is just how it is. You stop dreaming. You stop pushing. You stop growing. Until you become a ghost in your own story. That's the price of doing nothing. And no, it's not always obvious. There's no receipt. But there is a moment, usually late at night, when the noise fades and you're left alone with your thoughts. And in that silence, a voice whispers, you were made for more. You can ignore it for a while. Drown it out. Pretend it's not there. But eventually that voice gets louder. More persistent. Because deep down it knows the truth. You're not stuck. You're just scared. And that's okay. But if you let fear write your story, don't be surprised when the ending isn't what you wanted. There's a cost to every choice. And the cost of doing nothing is living with the pain of knowing you could have, but didn't. Section 5, The Rise. You've seen the truth. You've felt the weight. Now what? This is where everything begins to shift, not with a massive leap, but with one step. Because change doesn't demand perfection. It demands movement. You don't have to fix your entire life overnight. You just have to stop standing still. Let me tell you something that's going to sound simple, but it's powerful. Start small. Most people stay stuck because they try to rebuild their whole life in one weekend. They go all in for 3 days and burn out. Why? Because they chase intensity instead of consistency. But growth isn't built in a frenzy. It's built in repetition. So start with one thing. Make your bed. Take a walk. Drink water first thing in the morning. Open the notebook you've been ignoring. Send the message you've been too afraid to send. Show up, not perfectly, just honestly. You don't need to feel like doing it. You just need to do it anyway. That's how momentum is built. And here's the beautiful part. Action creates clarity. You don't need to see the whole staircase. You just need to take the first step. The second step only shows up after you take the first. Once you start moving, everything shifts. Your mood improves. Your mindset sharpens. Your confidence builds. You stop negotiating with fear and start cooperating with your potential. Because now, you're not just hoping for change. You're becoming the change. You start to believe in yourself, not because someone told you to, but because your actions are finally backing your words. This is where you begin to rise. And yes, there will still be resistance. There will still be hard days. But the difference now is you know how to move through them. You've tasted progress. You've felt the shift. And that feeling, it's addictive in the best way. You'll start to crave the work. Not because it's easy, but because it's worth it. you'll begin to notice your energy changing, your conversations changing, your circle changing. Because when you grow, your environment has no choice but to evolve with you or fall away. This isn't about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you were before life convinced you to play small. That version of you, the bold one, the focused one, the one who didn't need validation to move. They're still in there, just buried under the noise. And every time you show up, every time you act in spite of fear, every time you do the hard thing, that version of you gets louder. This is your rise. Not a highlight reel, not an Instagram story, but the real, gritty, day-by-day climb back to yourself. It won't be fast, it won't be flawless, but it will be real. And that's the only kind of success worth chasing. Section 6, the final push. You've made it to the end, but this isn't the end. This is the beginning. You've faced the truth. You've seen the pattern. You've felt the pain of staying stuck and the hope of what's possible if you finally rise. So now ask yourself, what are you going to do? Because nothing I've said matters if you leave here and go back to the same old habits. If you hear this and say, that was powerful, but don't let it change you, then this video is just more noise. And you don't need more noise. You need change. Nothing changes if nothing changes. That's not a quote, it's a warning. It's a mirror. It's a challenge. It's your future asking, will you let me exist? Because time's not waiting. Life's not slowing down. And nobody's coming to save you. You have everything you need right now to take one step. And one step can change everything. Not because it fixes your life, but because it proves something to you. That you are not powerless. That you are not your past. That you are not stuck unless you decide to be. You don't need a better life handed to you. You need to start creating one. Brick by brick. Step by step. Day by day. It doesn't have to be big. It just has to be real. So choose one thing. Right now. Before this video ends. One shift. One action. One promise to yourself that you'll actually keep. Then do it. No second guessing. No waiting for Monday. Now is the moment. Because if not now, when? If not you, who? If you felt this video, don't just like it. Live it. And if you know someone else who needs to hear it, send it to them. Be the catalyst for someone else. And if this hit home for you, subscribe, hit the like button, and share this with someone who's been stuck too long. Because this isn't just a video. It's your moment. Take it.